When you see a chemical formula like C6H12O6, what do you actually picture in your head? Is it just a bunch of letters and numbers? Or can you see this tiny, complex machine with its own shape, its own purpose? Well, today we're going to go on a journey. We're going to take that simple formula and turn it into this rich, three-dimensional understanding of what a molecule really is. So, what does a molecule really look like? It's definitely not just a flat drawing on a page. It's got shape, it's got charge, it even has its own unique fingerprint. To truly see it, we have to build our understanding layer by layer, and that's exactly what we're about to do.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a simple 2D blueprint. Then we'll map its electrical charge to see where the real action is happening. After that, things get really cool. We're going to build it in 3D and discover that molecules can have mirror images, just like our hands. And finally, we'll check our work with a real-world technique that gives us a molecular fingerprint, bringing our blueprint into reality.
All right, first step, we need to create a molecular blueprint. I want you to think of it just like an architect's plan for a building, but, for a molecule. In chemistry, we call this a Lewis structure, and it's our flat 2D drawing that shows us how all the atoms are connected.
Now, this isn't just random sketching. Drawing a Lewis structure is kind of like solving a puzzle with a set of rules. First, we've got to count up all the outermost electrons. Those are the ones actually doing all the work. Then we connect the atoms, kind of like a skeleton, putting the least electron-hungry one right in the middle. Finally, we just sprinkle the rest of the electrons around until every single atom is stable and happy. And here's what one looks like when it's all done. See how every single dot is accounted for? Those are the valence electrons. They're either being shared in a bond, which we draw as a line, or they're just hanging out on an atom as a lone pair. This is our map. It tells us exactly where all the important electrons are.
But what happens when you can draw more than one correct blueprint for the same molecule? It's like having two totally valid architectural plans for the same building. This is where a really fascinating idea called resonance comes in. It means the real molecule isn't one drawing or the other. It's actually an average of all the possibilities, almost like a blended image of both plans.
A perfect example is the nitrite ion. See, we can draw it with a double bond on the left oxygen, or we could draw it with a double bond on the right oxygen. But here's the kicker. When scientists actually measure it, they find that both of the bonds between nitrogen and oxygen are exactly the same length and strength. So the real molecule has to be a blend, a hybrid of these two forms.
To really get our heads around this, there's this fantastic analogy from George Wieland, who was a pioneer in this stuff. He said, a medieval traveler who had never seen a rhinoceros before might try to describe it as a hybrid of a dragon and a unicorn.
And this is the crucial part. The rhino is the real thing. The dragon and the unicorn, they're just imaginary concepts we use to describe this real animal. It's the exact same with molecules. That resonance hybrid, the blended molecule, that's the real entity. The individual drawings we make are just like the unicorn and the dragon. They help us understand, but they don't actually exist on their own. Okay, so our 2D blueprint shows us where electrons can be, but what about where they prefer to be? That brings us to our next layer, mapping the molecular charge. This is all about figuring out where the electrons spend most of their time, and it all comes down to a concept called polarity.
Now to get polarity, we first need to get two terms straight that sound really similar, electronegativity and electron affinity. Here's the simple way to think about it. Electron affinity is a raw measurement. It's how much energy an atom releases when it grabs an electron all by itself. But for us, the really important one is electronegativity. It's not about being alone. It's about how good an atom is at hogging electrons when it's already in a bond with another atom.
So when two atoms in a bond have different electronegativities, you get this epic tug of war over the electrons. And because they aren't sharing equally, you get a polar bond. This creates a tiny bit of negative charge on the atom that's winning the tug of war and a tiny bit of positive charge on the other. It's like having a little magnet built right into the molecule.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Just because a molecule has polar bonds doesn't automatically mean the whole molecule is polar. It all depends on the 3D shape. Take carbon dioxide. It has two polar bonds, but they're pulling in exactly opposite directions. They completely cancel each other out, so the molecule as a whole is nonpolar. But in water, because of its bent shape, those poles don't cancel. They add up, and that's what makes the entire water molecule polar.
Okay, so we've just seen that the 3D shape is absolutely crucial. So it's time for our next big step,
actually building our molecule in 3 dimensions and discovering its handedness, a property that has huge implications, especially in things like biology and medicine.
This idea is called chirality. And honestly, the best analogy is right in front of you, your own hands. Go ahead, look at your left hand and your right hand. They're perfect mirror images, right? But try to stack one perfectly on top of the other? You can't. Molecules can be the exact same way, and we call them chiral. This usually happens when a carbon atom is attached to 4 totally different things, creating this handed molecule.
So these non-superimposable mirror image molecules, they have a special name. They're called enantiomers. Think of them as molecular twins. They have all the same physical properties, except for one really cool, almost secret power. They interact with a special kind of light called polarized light in opposite ways. One twin will rotate the light to the right, and the other will rotate it to the left by the exact same amount.
So we've designed our molecule in 3D. It's beautiful. But how do we know our model is actually right? How does a chemist in a lab confirm they made the thing they drew on paper? Well, they take its fingerprint, using a really powerful technique called infrared spectroscopy.
Now, looking at one of these spectra for the first time can be, well, a bit intimidating. It just looks like a whole forest of peaks and valleys. But here's the secret. You absolutely do not need to analyze every single peak. We can use the 80-20 rule here. About 80% of the really useful information comes from just 2 specific spots on the chart.
And here's a really simple and kind of fun way to remember what you're looking for: tongues and swords. If you see a broad, rounded peak that looks like a tongue sticking out around the 3300 mark, that's a dead giveaway you've got an alcohol group. And if you see a sharp, strong, sword-like peak right around 1700, you've almost definitely got a carbonyl group. It's like the molecule is talking to us.
Once you've checked for tongues and swords, there are a few other quick clues you can look for. Just think of the number 3000 as a dividing line. Peaks that show up above it tell you about CH bonds next to double bonds, and peaks below it are for CH bonds next to single bonds. Oh, and if you ever spot a lonely little peak in the quiet zone around 2200, you've probably found a triple bond, which is pretty cool.
So we've really come a long way. We started with a simple line drawing, and now we have this rich, multi-layered picture of a molecule, complete with its very own unique fingerprint. So let's put all these pieces together and see the whole thing.
So this is how we truly see a molecule. It's not just a flat drawing, it's this dynamic, 3-dimensional thing. We start with that 2D Lewis structure just to get the atoms connected. Then we add the charge map to understand its electrical personality. We build the 3D model to see its shape and its handedness. And finally, we confirm its identity with its IR spectrum, its fingerprint. It's a journey from a simple formula to a rich, verifiable reality.
And that brings us to a final thought, which is just amazing. Every single thing in our world, from the medicines that heal us to the flowers we smell, is all governed by the precise architecture of these tiny invisible machines. So the next time you smell a rose, just remember, you're not just smelling a flower, you're experiencing an intricate dance of molecules, a symphony of shapes and charges that literally creates the world around us. And that's the power of seeing molecules in all their dimensions.